I wanted to talk about why I specifically think that YouTube, Twitter, these tech companies are really the greatest evil that liberty, freedom, America face. You see, my own experience and virtually the experience of everyone that I think has some kind of handle on what is going on and the courage to say it gets demonetized, deplatformed, banned, suspended. Virtually everyone. And there is a deliberate effort at YouTube to suppress videos that are not made by the establishment, so to speak. So if you look at YouTube today, any item you search, anything you search up, you get a million results from MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, the BBC, and so on and so forth. But the material that existed available to be seen just a few months ago can no longer be found. If you have the direct link, if you bother to bookmark it at that stage, it may still be there, but you can't find it. And I'm talking about examples of videos like, as an example, there were videos that were floating around that showed, news clips from all the major channels, spaced through time, showing how various politicians, the channels themselves, the newspapers are all coordinatedly using the same phrases, the same lines of attack. It's you can see exactly what they're up to, and you can see how their attacks fail and how they adapt and readapt and change and move on, and then Donald Trump wins. And you see that, and all of those videos are now impossible to find. They have wiped out all the work that was done. Now YouTube's official policy is that you're supposed to get your news from the establishment channels because they're respectable, the very channels whose malfeasances have been exposed by people who are bringing out the truth. Those who are bringing out the truth, if they can be caught on some word they used, some party they once went to a meeting on, well, that person's, obviously fascist, right-wing, Islamophobic, misogynist, racist, hate monger, right? But if there's nothing that you've done, that you said with your own words, and everything that you put out there is public information, they just bury you. You'll never be found by anyone. Shadow banning, I believe they call it. It's real. And at the same time, I've been thinking, this kind of thing, YouTube is becoming a difficult place only for people who are telling the truth about what is going on without calling for a white Islamofascist state or a white ethno-nationalist state or a neo-Nazi state. These are not neo-Nazis. These are nothing like that. But they're all getting shut down, and the ones that have large audiences, like Joe Rogan just left YouTube. Tim Pool is always talking about how he believes that he's on the verge of being shut down. But YouTube doesn't have this. This exists only for the people who are rattling the cages of the establishment. Political commentators, anybody who has anything to say about politics, culture, race, gender, things that elections run on, the decisions are made on, are not to be out there. At the same time, you have channels. I'm finding channels with youngsters. 5 million subscribers, 10 million subscribers, and these channels are made with such professionalism. It's really remarkable, and there is a whole economy running in which people are just finding their outlet, and they're getting millions of people to see them. They're getting the money to make it really good. the audiences keep coming, the audiences keep growing, the quality of the product keeps improving, lots of money to be made, and the majority of the people who are watching these videos and making these videos are all in a great place. And they have no idea what is happening on the back end, which is being silenced. Now the thing is, I've given a pretty big introduction here, but the thing that is important to note here is this is the China model. Keep the people occupied and engaged in things, puppy videos, doggy videos, reviews of the latest smartphone, 25-year-old girl play acting various things for you to, come and see her every Friday because she's thoughtful and cute and intelligent and sensitive and blah 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 blah. Entertain the people, keep them entertained, and keep their thinking and their interests out of the affairs of those who run the money and those who run government. This is the Chinese model. YouTube, Twitter, Patreon, these companies are engaged in the business of ensuring that the American population and the population of the free states, all the free countries, are expected to live in a kind of a daze about the reality that they live in, because they are busy with everything and doing well at everything except the matters of the state. So Google and Twitter and all these companies are trying to turn America into China. And this is based on the calculation of the Chinese that, excuse me, I need to turn off the notifications here. Turn off the internet. Sorry. This is based on the Chinese philosophy about society, which is taking a hold in America. Almost has, which is why you have to fight now. Which is the idea that freedom is not necessary for the power of a state or for the technology of a state. I mean, there is some truth to this. Germany, Nazi Germany, made some of the most remarkable technological and scientific advances during the Second World War when it was being run by Hitler. No freedom, but the state has sponsored and given opportunity and money and resources to the few people who have the intellect and the ability to deliver what the state wants. So you can have technology and all of that in a completely totalitarian regime. So the Chinese calculation is that as long that Americans do not need freedom, nobody needs freedom, that the American innovations like Hollywood and the chips that come out of Silicon Valley and the software that comes out of Google and Oracle and all of that will keep coming out as long as the people are just doing their jobs and being happy looking at videos of cute kittens playing, right? So you have all of these history channels that have come up on YouTube, and they're telling you about this plane and that plane and this battle and that battle, but they never ever get into the politics of it anymore. They don't make any decision. They don't make any statements about whether this side was right or that side was wrong. They've gone silent on the moral judgments of history and the present. And Hollywood's done the same thing. You've got these 27 movies of people in capes, and they have nothing to say. There is no statement being made. Hollywood has stopped making political statements. So essentially, this is being done on the presumption that freedom of thought and freedom of expression is not necessary for a powerful, prosperous society. And this is fundamentally wrong. And this is wrong because everything that they're doing right now is inertia left over from when America really was free in thought and speech. It's leftover inertia. Because what we're working on right now is everything that was discovered at the time that there was real freedom. And now all the things that are not to be explored, not to be investigated, that have not occurred to the state to demand or command, will not get done. And slowly technological innovation will slowly taper off because everybody will be trying to find a way to make a quick buck, and they won't be able to find anyone who can challenge orthodoxy, who can challenge authority, who can challenge the old way of doing things, or, there will be no new challenge to thought, and innovation will stop. And then the engine that China is counting on, that, keeps Silicon Valley happy and functioning and China remains rich, that model will break down, because at some point Silicon Valley will run into limitations of existing thought and technology that it will not be able to overcome, because people will have become programmed and trained by then to not be the iconoclast, say, I'm not going to go to college, I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to find that guy who's going to spend $50 million on it, and I'll be rich. That will stop. It doesn't exist in China. It doesn't even exist in India, because we are products of socialist states that set for us what we have to study, what is valuable, what course of study to do, how we are to study it, what we are to take away from it. And we end up in a place like India where 80 or 85% of graduates of engineering colleges are not employable as engineers, because we socialist states crush freedom of thought. The thing is, not the thought is not the importance, it's the freedom that's important. You have no idea what someone can come up with somewhere that will suddenly change everything. It's the freedom aspect, right? So China believes wrongly, because they are so convinced that freedom is bullshit, they also think that freedom is bullshit in America. It's not as if they think that, freedom really is better, but, we have to save ourselves from it because we cannot be free. It's not like they think that, right? It's not like, freedom is better than us, we're weak, we cannot become free, so let's attack freedom. It's not that. It's that they really hate freedom because they think that freedom is not necessary and freedom is an indulgence because they don't need it. Those in China who want to be free, like the people of Hong Kong, like the Falun Gong, like the gentleman who was photographed and made a legend at Tiananmen Square, they want freedom, but they're not allowed to speak freedom, and everybody else in China is programmed to feel that they do not need to be free, because everything that they want and everything that they need is available and prosperous, and they're powerful, and China is going to be the next superpower, and freedom is bullshit. And they're doing the same thing in America through YouTube, through MSNBC, through the cancel culture, to shut down all debate that does not follow the Marxist state-directed ideas of what is proper and what is not proper. YouTube is a weapon of Marx. This will go on YouTube, and if I'm right, if this gets banned, if it gets demonetized, you will know that I'm right, because I have not spoken about any specific community. I have not spoken about any gender, any sexuality. I have not done any of those things. I have spoken only about how the totalitarian Marxist ideology operates and how it is being spread in America through corporations that are silencing free speech in exactly the same pattern as China. Will they let this remain up? If they ban this, know that what I've said is true. But what I have said is true because they're not going to ban me because I've got 1,500 followers, right? I would need to have 10 million. But sooner or later, they will find an excuse. I will have violated something somewhere earlier present on another platform. I could have done something on another platform 5 years ago, 10 years ago. They'll use that as an excuse to shut this down. So the thing is that you need to understand is that China has taken control of America culturally, intellectually, politically, in ways that Americans have not even realized. And it has been helped in doing this by Google, by Twitter, by Apple. Apple, you got Tim Cook, he's got this thing on the Apple, his comment on racism, Black Lives Matter, and he gives this whole spiel about history of injustice and blah, 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 blah. But Tim Cook and Apple and the people who buy Apple products, they don't give a shit about the Uyghurs or the Vietnamese who suffered, or the Chinese who suffered, or what is happening to the Tibetans. They don't care. For them, China is money, and they're going to tell you whatever bullshit to believe so that you keep their racket going. And the thing is that the longer this goes on, the harder it will become to break free of this. So it has to be now. It has to be now. You must support social media platforms that are free speech. Gab, Parler. Come find me on Parler. Come find me on Parler. Because there is no way that we can change We in the world of democracies can change the behaviors of Google and YouTube unless their incentives and obligations are changed by law. But till that happens, if it ever happens, we need to be able to keep talking. So we really need to get on platforms like Parler and all that, and we need to start calling out Google, Twitter, CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, everyone who is telling lies about the world whose ultimate effect is to enslave America to the Chinese regime and everyone that the Chinese have made rich in the West. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you.